Okay, since I've already like had one jolt in this, I'm going to add one more thing to what I'm saying, and that's that if you're watching this and you want to see the details of how to make these flowers or something, or you want to see the details of what I wrote, turn your phone sideways, and then you can, you know, like zoom in by moving your fingers along like that, and you can see close up. So you can do that on any video. Hi everybody, I'm Alyce-Kay Reckelhaus from Threshold of Hineni and the Widow Reckelhaus. And so this is the doodling part of this. And what I've done the last couple of weeks, this time I just made leaves. And then last time I did the same type of leaves with flowers. And so I'm going to carry that theme all the way through on Sundays and do leaves with a different kind of flowers. So the ones today are going to be kind of similar to the ones from last week, but they're going to be different. So let's just go ahead and do that, and I'll talk while I'm doing that. So I always start out with my little squiggles here for the vine. And like I mentioned last week, just in case you weren't with us, this is something that my third grade teacher, Mrs. Jalot, taught me to do. She taught our whole class, not just me. We were making Christmas gifts, and one of the gifts was for our mothers. It was a calendar for our mothers. And so on one page, she had us make these vines with leaves and roses. And I have found that, I have done that through all these years. I'm 61 now. It's a long time since third grade when I was 8 years old. But I've done these all these years because I just find it to be very relaxing, the repetitiveness and everything of it, and they're pretty, you know? So I'm going to do that along the top here this time. So anyway, I mentioned earlier that I'm going to be doing a video with an update of how I'm doing, because I realized I haven't done that for months. And there's some things that I want to share with you guys about how I'm doing and some stuff that I've learned and everything. So I'm not sure if I'll do that today or tomorrow, but you can be watching for that. And I mentioned that I would tell you about what inspired me to do this again. And that's a recent widow. She's been a widow for 3 months, and she has started doing videos about her widowhood. Is that what you call it? Widowhood? And it just really reminded me about how much it helped me to talk about things on videos and how much people were saying it was helping them. So I wanted to go ahead and do that. Anyway, her name is Sandra Gulkowski. I don't know if I'm saying her last name right or not, but I'll link it below, and I'll definitely link it in the in my update video, because I want to talk a little bit more about what she's doing. But anyway, so I think that's really important. Okay, so I'm going to do one right here just so that you can see here. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm making a circle, and then I'm making 5 kind of long lines. That's 4, and they don't have to be evenly spaced. Okay, and then a little circle at the end of each one, and then a whole bunch of little tiny lines in between. Okay, and we can make those different sizes, and I'll just show you like what it looks like when you color it. Let's make this one orange. And let's make the dots yellow and the rest of it orange, but it comes out as kind of a pretty little flower. And there are lots of flowers like this that are just like hairy. It's like what Bill used to say about my journals, because I sew things in them and I leave the threads hanging and stuff, because that gives it kind of a shabby chic look, and he said that my journals were hairy and he liked that. Okay, so that's just how it looks. So I'm going to make those along here while I'm talking. So I mentioned, and I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but I mentioned this in the video about, you know, what I was writing and stuff, that I'm autistic. This is something that I just recently learned. I have some grandsons who are autistic, and in learning about autism for them, I started kind of recognizing it in myself. I wasn't really ready to even admit that that was a possibility at that time, because at that point I was thinking of autism as being something really bad, you know. And then I don't know, I was just really fascinated with it. And I always told myself that the reason I was fascinated with it was because of my grandsons, which, you know, that's true and that's a valid reason. But I think also I was kind of wondering, you know, if I was on the spectrum. And so after watching a series about, I think it was called Love on the Spectrum, which I thought was very fascinating, I started wondering more seriously, am I autistic? And so I started watching a few videos about like what are the signs of autism and how do you know and stuff. And I found out, for one thing, that autism for women is very different than it is for men. And this was one of the things that had kept me from thinking that I really was autistic for a long time, was that I am, you know, fairly sociable. I am kind of a loner and I'm very introverted, but I do okay around people, especially one-on-one. You know, I do have some difficulties, like I take things really literally. That's not something I can really help. In fact, when I try not to take things literally, then I end up reading things into stuff instead. So, you know, so, you know, now that I've found out that I am autistic, I tell people that when I meet them, you know, so that they can know that they need to, if I respond to something weird, or I mean my response is weird, or something, you know, or I say something that really bothers them or offends them, you know, try to bring that out to me, because I'm not trying to be offensive. It's just that, like, I don't read social cues very well, especially with extroverts. With other introverts, I think I do okay. Is this on the camera? Yeah. I think I do okay with other introverts, and I do pretty well one-on-one with people, but in large groups, that's really hard for me. I have always kind of freaked out in large groups. I'm okay, like, speaking in front of a large group and even like praying with people afterwards, but then it's not like I'm really dealing with a large group. It's kind of weird. It's hard to explain, but it's, you know, it's all planned out. I know what I'm going to say and stuff. And so that's different from just like going to a party. I do fine when I plan the party and I'm in charge of it, because then I have something to do. But when I'm just going there to socialize, I don't do well at all. So anyway, so I started kind of, you know, suspecting that I was autistic from some of the things that I read and listened to and everything. And then I asked my doctor about it, and he said, well, I can send you to a psychiatrist to definitely, you know, diagnose you, but I can tell you right away, yeah, you're autistic, you're on the spectrum. And we talked about it, and, you know, I had already come to the point before that where, having researched it somewhat, I had come to understand that this isn't necessarily a bad thing. You know, it's how God made me, and people on the spectrum have their own gifts and stuff. People tend to think that it's bad because we're different from other people. But there are some companies, like some car companies especially, that are starting to realize that autistic people have something different to offer that no one else does. And so they're starting to like hire autistic people for specific jobs that they're better at. And they're not doing it like to hire somebody, you know, because they're to be charitable. They're doing it because they know that these people can do the job better because they have specific gifts and stuff. And then also, like anything else, science tends to at first think that women are the same as men. So that's been confusing for a while for people, because female autistic people, I'm not sure what's the word, autistics, whether they're children or adults, don't have necessarily the same things about them that make them autistic. So it's just like for heart attacks, you know, when I was in my 20s, when I was in my second pregnancy, I developed, or it was discovered that I had PVCs, premature ventricular contractions. And so I was kind of scared about that. You know, obviously there's something wrong with your heart, you know, and I'm pregnant. So there's a lot of demand on my heart. And and also it's not just my well-being, it's my baby's well-being that depends on this and everything. So anyway, at one point I thought I was having a heart attack, so I went into the emergency room, and the doctor told me, if you don't feel like there's an elephant sitting on your chest, then you're not having a heart attack. Well, that's appropriate to say to a man, but women don't necessarily have those symptoms. But we didn't know that back then. We just thought that women were the same as men. There's a book that's called something like Women Are Not Just Small Men. And the author talks about stuff like that in there. So women have different symptoms. So like with autism, women are different. And women autistics often are more social relationships are more important to us and stuff. And so I was saying, like, I take things literally. So for example, when I was little, and when I told my mom this, about being autistic, she didn't say anything for a little bit. It was on the phone. And then she said, that explains a lot of things. And it's true, it does. And so it was a relief to me to find out, because it did explain a lot for me. It just really helped me to go, okay, that's why I'm different in this way. That's why, I'm not the same as everybody else with this particular thing. So like with being literal, so an example is, I don't remember this, but my mom used to always tell me about it. When I was, like 2 or 3 years old, she would tell me to go put on a clean t-shirt, a clean undershirt. And because back then, in those days, we wore undershirts under our clothes. Anyway, so then, like, after a few days, because we didn't take baths every day back then, you guys, especially little kids, unless you got really dirty, and I didn't. I was a little girl. But then, after about 3 days, she'd go to get me ready for my bath, and I had 3 undershirts on because she didn't tell me to take off the dirty one. Okay? And it wasn't that I was trying to be, like crazy or something, or haha, this is what you said, or anything like that. It's just, that's how I hear things, is I hear what you say and I take it very literally. And so that's made for some pretty funny situations at times. But it's also caused me a lot of heartache. Like when I was in college, I was in an honors English class, and the professor said to write about anything that you wanted to. And so I did, and I worked really hard on my paper and everything, and even made some recordings to go with it. And my professor called me into his office, and he said, this is one of the best papers I've ever seen, but I have to give you an F because you didn't do what I said. And I said, well, you said to write it on anything. And he said, well, we followed a pattern throughout the whole class. Well, everybody else in the class followed that pattern. So I really had no argument. But I didn't notice that there was a pattern of what we did. And so, of course, I didn't do that in that paper. And so I got an F. And I think that's why I was thrown out of the honors court program, which, that wasn't the end of the world. It was okay, but it was sad and it was disappointing and everything. And then I've had a couple times when, like people have thought that I was like a prima donna because I insisted on doing things the way that we had said we were going to do them. Well, that's kind of an autistic trait. And and I can't blame those people because they just thought, gosh, she's just being really inflexible. They didn't know I was autistic. I didn't know I wasn't autistic, so I definitely don't like blame people for it or anything. But it's like really, really helpful now to have an explanation of why I'm that way. It's just really, really helpful. And then oftentimes, and this sometimes makes me really hesitant to make friends. Like, I'm at a new church since I became Catholic, and people are really nice there. They're really friendly and everything, but I'm kind of hesitant to make friends. And I realized this the other day. And the reason for that is because I eventually end up offending people. And I don't mean to, but it's just, that I don't read social signals very well, or I misunderstand what people say, or they misunderstand what I say because I'm so different. I mean, we all have misunderstandings and we all misread signals at some time, but mine are a lot worse. um, so yeah, so it's like, so once I realized that that was what was going on, I'm trying to figure out like, what can I do to make friends? A lot of people have reached out to me. Well, I shouldn't say a lot, but quite a few people have reached out to me. It's not that it's an unfriendly church at all, but it's just been me that's hesitant to make friends. And I've had some really bad experiences before, which can be explained not by blaming those people, but by understanding that I'm autistic. And so, yeah. So, I don't know why I was telling you guys this. I think there was a reason, but I can't remember why. Anyway, there's one point in this video where I was talking that it's going to seem like a weird transition, and that's because my phone shut down because I had too much stuff stored on it, and so I had to start the video again in the middle, and I'll try to edit it, but I'm not very good at editing, so you'll probably be able to tell where it just kind of jumps or something. I don't know. Anyway, that's why. That's why that's happening. Maybe if I didn't tell you, you wouldn't know, but I don't care. Anyway, so let's go ahead and finish coloring these in. So isn't it fun making like different kinds of flowers each time? These ones are kind of similar to these, but they're a little bit different. I'm thinking maybe next time I'll do roses. I'm not sure. Haven't decided. I like making flowers. They're so fun. And flowers are so, 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 so pretty. It started raining last night in the middle of the night, and not just raining, but thunder and lightning, which I love. I absolutely love thunder and lightning, but my dog does not. And when I got up and I was feeding her this morning, I saw it strike outside, and I mean, like, the sound was like I'm almost simultaneous with the lightning, so I know it was really close. I've actually seen it hit a transformer near my home one time. So I'm not scared of it though. I don't know why, but I love lightning and thunder. I think it's very exciting, and it makes me kind of energetic and hyper. We're supposed to get some more later on today and tonight. It's very common here. We don't really have any natural disasters in this part of Tennessee. I mean, you hear about like tornadoes in Tennessee. Well, that's in Nashville, which is like central Tennessee. But I live in East Tennessee, in the foothills of the Appalachians. So, yeah, we got one tornado here like more than 10 years ago, and they put up a tornado warning thing because of that. But it was one that traveled, I think it was like 300 miles or something. It really like wrecked up Huntsville, Alabama, and some other places, and tornadoes don't usually come into mountains. They need flat ground to go onto, so it was just really weird. So, but occasionally when they test those alarms, when they test that siren, it freaks me out a little bit, because I used to live in Minnesota and we did get tornadoes there. And so when you hear that siren, you make a run for the basement. And so it does freak me out a little bit when I hear it, but then I go, oh, it's 1 o'clock, and that's when they test it. So, okay, let's see. I want to do some other colors here for flowers. See, and you notice how I'm not like trying to stay on the lines or anything. I'm just like coloring the general area of that flower. We need blue. Let's see, here's one. It's more like I'm making like a circle scribbled there. And then those lines are like the details of it or something. There, I made a half circle here. Okay, did we get all of them? Oops, missed a leaf right there. Okay, so that's it. So I'm going to go load this up so that you'll see it soon. Where's the leaf that I missed? There it is. Okay. So I'm going to load this up so you'll see it soon. And then I'm going to work on my update because I really, really want to update you guys on what's going on in my life and how I'm doing and stuff. All right. I love you. I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.